Shalom, dear friends, this is wonderful to be with you today. This is Israel First, and we're bringing you news and interviews from the land of Israel. Today in the studio, we're having Linda Menuhin Abdul Aziz to give all your name because you come from Iraq. Linda has become a relentless activist for peace, serving as a bridge between people in the Middle East, and she will tell us a personal journey today. She's serving as a senior advisor in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and she's also a commentator in Middle East affairs, both in Israel and Arab media. Linda was born in Iraq. She left the country when she was 20 years old, and she came to Israel. So with this unique background, she provides an unprecedented scope of understanding Arabic culture. Linda gained her BA in Islamic culture, in Arabic and English literature at the Hebrew University, and she holds also 2 master's degrees in the University of Jerusalem. She worked also as a journalist, and now she's going to tell us a bit of the journey for her to have peace in her heart. Linda, thank you for coming. It's wonderful to have you. And can you tell us a bit of your journey, how you arrived in Israel?
Yeah, it was long ago really when I decided to leave Iraq because of the persecution. And at the beginning it was very hard to come here on my own. A different culture, a different language. But eventually really I made it, I think, in a very successful way. And I learned Hebrew, mastered the Hebrew, because the Hebrew is very similar also to Arabic, the same origin.
Were you speaking it already at home a bit? In Iraq? Did you do a bit of Hebrew?
No, I didn't know any Hebrew in Iraq because it was forbidden actually to learn Hebrew in Iraq only in the 5th and 6th grade, where you learn how to pray. So it was just basic Hebrew, but that's it. So from there, you know, I really had to start from scratches here in Israel. But since there is a big similarity in Hebrew and Arabic, to me it was very easy to learn the Hebrew.
And you were young still. It's easier, isn't it, when you're young to learn another language?
Yeah, of course it's easier, but it's also my passion, languages. So for me, really, it was like a nice journey in terms of the language. But then I think the difference between the culture was a bit challenging, because I came from a very different culture, the Arabic culture, because the Jews were mostly affected by their surrounding, the Arab culture. And here it was a Western culture. So I had to adjust, and it took years. And then the story of my father has come, you know, into the scene. And it was very difficult for me at the time to face the story and look really closely at what happened, because I think everybody needs really to understand, you know, what they have gone through. And after
this come more at a certain age, isn't it? When you are younger, you are full of life and you are running your life. And I mean, I see in my life, I'm looking more the background. Older you are, more you see important is the beginning of your life and your family and all this core.
You are absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. It happened to me only, this introspective happened to me only after more than being 40 years in Israel. So I started really to search and look for the traces of my father, and eventually, really, at the beginning, it was very hard because you don't want to touch something painful. But I think at the end of this journey, I finally had peace with myself, because I think that you cannot have peace with other people if you don't have peace with yourself first.
So tell us a bit about what's happening with your father. What happened with your father? Because people don't know.
My father was abducted in Iraq in 1972, and it was the Ba'ath regime at the time, and many Jews were abducted and killed. And we were already in Israel, and he was alone there, and we heard that he has been kidnapped and killed. It was very hard to really accept the fact at the beginning, so I just overlooked the fact, ignore it, and move on with my life, as you said, because I was young and I want really to build my career and life in Israel.
And at the time, you were already not with your father, wasn't it right? So you had already a distance with your father. You were already, do you understand? You weren't in close contact. Does that make also sense?
Well, we exchanged letters at the time.
It was still free. You could write to him.
Yeah, it wasn't free, but you could write, I wrote to my aunt in the US, and she opened the letter, changed the envelope, and sent it to Iraq. And from Iraq, sending it here also, you have to change the envelopes also.
So also, it would be interesting for the people to know, because Iraq was the place for Babylon, was the place for Nineveh. So you have a very rich culture, and the Jewish community was there for a very long time. And suddenly, it's not that you make the choice to go out of Iraq. You had to flee, which I think psychologically is very different when you choose to go out by yourself, where you are pushed away to go somewhere. And I think people carry something inside of them when they are a refugee. And you were a refugee, weren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. You are right, because when I first came in here, I had a question of identity, for example, because also in Israel at the beginning they thought like we are Arabs. Mm-hmm. So, and while we were in Iraq, they treated us like being Jews different. So we had really to make up our minds and how do we feel about each identity. And at the end of the day, even though that I left Iraq, like almost 50 years ago, Iraq didn't leave me. And at the beginning, I really tried to ignore that and leave Iraq behind, but it didn't work. So it worked only when I have both identities. And I think it's like music identities nowadays, because it's multicultural. You bring in your identity so many things. Mm. It's like, an orchestra of music. So altogether, it makes your identity.
Which is very, very important again, because I was thinking about you, and I have other friends who are refugees, and you are bumping, and even me, I'm from France, went to England, here, and it's like you have bits of cultures in you, and as you said, you need to do like a harmony of all these things together, and this is what makes you. And sometimes people think you have to have only one culture, but no, you can be who you are, and you are made with the people that you are meeting all around. So this is very interesting. One thing also that I discovered when I live here in Israel is the trouble that the Jewish people had when they were from Arab countries, because when Israel was reborn in 1948, suddenly it was very difficult for the Jews who were living in Arab countries. Can you speak a bit about that too?
Yes, of course. It was decided then by the Arab governments at the time, mm-hmm. that if Israel is going to establish a state, then all the Jews under the Islamic regimes will be in danger and we will be hostages. So they started
in all the
in all Arab countries. Mm-hmm. It was the Arab League that mm-hmm. talked about that at the time. So for example, in Iraq, people who registered to leave the country, they were discarded from their citizenship by law that was passed in the Iraqi parliament. So when they registered, they didn't know that they will go. They are going to lose their citizenship, and also all their assets. And add to that whatever happened before, because it was in 1941 that there was a pogrom. So people were at the time really very afraid that again, if Israel is going to be reborn, then the Jews will be again like the scapegoat in the Arab world. So yeah, so in Egypt, for example, there was another story. There were also, the government didn't let people work. They withdrew their work permission, because I think there is something common with the Jews in the Arab world. They were very educated, and they were very energetic also, and they were hardworking people. They established good business, and they were owners of many institutions and buildings. So I think this is also was a source of jealousy too, as it happened in Germany, for example. I think when you are successful, you draw some kind of enmity.
And it's interesting because when you're speaking about the Farhud, again, I've learned when I came here in Israel, and I think it's by being with you that I discovered what was happening again for the Jewish people, not in Europe, but in the Arab countries. And this was interesting because there is still parallels of these things, because it was also happening because of the leader who was in Jerusalem, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Palestinian leader, Hajj Ahmed al-Husseini. Yeah, and he allied with the Germans. And when he came to Iraq, he very much incited against Jews. And we had also at the time the German radio in Arabic. So there was ongoing incitement. And there was Mein Kampf, the book that was translated in Arabic. So there was a lot of incitement against Jews going on.
And so this was around in the 40s.
Yeah.
The Farhud was in 1941.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it reminds me also the pogrom in Hebron, which was in 1929, which was again the same kind of things, wanted to who were killing Jewish people. Yeah. And I'm so sorry to see that your people had to go through so terrible things. But the thing that we see here, in the land is this vitality that despite the despair, despite all the pogrom, despite like even 6 million who were killed during the Holocaust, Israel is rising again. And it's because of that now we wanted to have a program called Israel First, because you are at the front of so many things. Now, I would like you also to speak a bit because of that, you know the Arab culture and you know the Israeli culture, and you are a spokesperson to bring peace, to bring things positively here in the land. This is like what your contribution, of bringing peace in Jerusalem. Could you speak a bit of how you do it and what is the tools that you are using for that?
Yeah. It's actually my daily life, dealing with this issue, because I run websites in Arabic, and I always try really to bring common things between Arabs and Jews, not only Israel, it's worldwide, and how Islam has been affected by Judaism. So there is a lot of common things going on, believe in one God. And the Judaism was an inspiration to Islam too. And this is something that not really too many people know. Not only that, all the commandments, for example. So you have really a lot of, you share a lot of common values. And that's what I talk about at our mutual, look at our mutual values. So like if we are a family, we want to raise good children, we want to have them educated, and I think it's normal in every part of the world nowadays. So I'm trying really to focus on the good and leave the bad. This is one thing. The other thing is really to try to bring a pattern of how similar the values are in each religion, and quotations from both. For example, how you have to respect your parents, for example. And we have also a very big variety of proverbs that match in Hebrew and in Arabic. So it's, I think, not only that, and the similarity in the language, this drives people crazy. They say, wow, we don't know about that, of course, on Facebook and Twitter. So I think now that the world is open, it is also possible for us here in Israel to open up, and we can see the light, really, how it goes out to the Arab world, and we can see, their response. They are amazed how Israel is succeeding in so many fields, and they bless Israel. I know, it's hard really to believe for someone who only hears on the radio that Israel is being put again and again on the spot and being blamed for everything bad in the world.
Mm-hmm. You're so right, because we've been used to hear a bad media, and this is wonderful to see that you are bringing a positive media of what's happening. And I mean, so we will do some more program, because I think this is very interesting to see that. And us, we see it on the web with the Christian and the Jewish people. There is a lot of things happening. And again, it's the same pattern, saying we have so many things in common that we need to focus on what we have in common to stay strong and to make, as you said, family is so important. The respect of the elders is so important. This is all part of our society. So I think it's very, very interesting to hear what you are doing. Do you have a story maybe of this week?
Yeah, well, I have always positive stories.
So do you have one that you can share with us today?
For example, there was a selfie of an Egyptian girl who made it to the Olympics, in beach kind of competition. And at the end of the game, she had a selfie with the Israeli, and the Israeli was putting on her the flag. And this was in contrast with what happened a week ago with the judo Egyptian athlete who didn't want to shake hands with the Israeli. So I always want really to bring positive stories up to the front.
So we will put also your Facebook, and are you on Twitter too?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll put so people can see also what you are doing. But this is wonderful to see so many positive stories, and I think this is what we want to do here with Israel First. We really want to show you positive things that's happening, and Israel is first. And we have some great Muslim people who are really praying now for Israel, are standing with Israel. This is becoming a bigger trend than it was a few years ago. So we really encourage people, whoever you are in the world, connect with Israel First, connect with Linda, and it would be great to hear the stories. I'm a friend now, I think I was telling you, with a man from Balochistan, and he's Muslim, and he's standing with Israel, and this is great to be able to see these things. Now, we want to show you, and we are going to show the film from your father, because it's very important that you see. Linda was speaking a bit about her life, but we want to show you this film because it's really to show you the reality of things that she's been going through. And again, as a wonderful lady, she's taking the sorrow and turn it and put it in a very positive way, and now she's helping to bring more light in the world, and this is wonderful. So from Linda and from me, we say bye and enjoy this film, Shadow in Baghdad.
I always say that I left Iraq 40 years ago, but Iraq never left me.
The issue is these people have been judged, tried, convicted, and executed because of espionage.
صدام حسين يكلمني في الأحلام، يهمس في أذني بأنني عراقية.
وطيرك بقاشيتا؟ إيه فوي بقاشيتي وبيغاك.
ما حبيت اتعرف انه فرصة مع والدك.
ما موجود البيت المقصود. هاي المنطقة كلها تغير المبنى العمراني مالها.
اكو يهودي عراقي عوال.
هذا يقول هذا كان هذا شارع السماوات كله يهود كان.
اخوك شخص اسمه حامد يعقوب عبد العزيز سامع فيك؟
يعقوب عبد العزيز.
لما كنت ما هو طلعش يعطيك بيه كسب.
He goes home to the house and they just took him. We sent somebody who worked on the case and then he was kidnapped.
Wonderful. Today we are with you and we're just starting to introduce you about the Aleph-Bet, which is the Hebrew alphabet. So we're starting today with two letters, Aleph and Bet. Aleph is the first letter and Bet is the second letter. Now it's interesting because every letter also in Hebrew have a number who correspond to them. So right now is Aleph is 1, Bet is 2. Now, the importance also of the Hebrew language is like it carries a meaning. So Aleph represents something, it's not just a letter. So the meaning behind Aleph is one, like the one, our one creator, one, our one true God, and he's a champion. The interesting thing also for Aleph is the first letter for Adam. Aleph doesn't really have a sound, like Bet is B, Bet. But Aleph is like a mute, but is used for a lot of names, like Abba, the father, Ima, the mother, Adam. Now we're going to look at Adam, which is very interesting because Adam is like mankind. Adam, we know it was the name of the first man, and it's because of that. So you have the first letter, Aleph, and after Dam. And Dam is also blood, which is very interesting. So we are made in the image of God, as we were saying, like Aleph represents God. And we are made also of blood. And this is what we are made, Adam. Interesting enough also, there is Ish and Isha. Ish is the man, and Isha is the lady. And all these letters start with the letter Aleph, as I was saying, because Aleph represents God. We are made in the image of God. And this is so important to know because you can see when we see somebody who is rich, who is poor, who is old, who is young, who is not even born yet, we can see the importance of the creature of we are created in the image of God. When we are born or even before being born until we die, we carry this holiness that God has given us. So now we are looking at the letter Bet, and Bet is very interesting, very different shape, and it's a bit like a house. And the name Bet, which is the name for the second letter, is also Bait, is for house, very close, Bet and Bait for house. Again, the number for Bet is 2, which is interesting because if we start to build a family and you go to live in a house, you need 2 people. The father and the mother, the man and the woman. So it's very interesting again, is all there. Bet also is used in Bereshit, which is the first book of the Bible, which is in English, Genesis. But in Hebrew we say Bereshit, which is in the beginning. And every letter in the Hebrew language they are written very meticulously in the Torah, in the scrolls, and every letter will have a certain a certain size. But at the beginning of Bereshit, suddenly the bet of Bereshit is taller than the others. And this is done for a purpose. We said already, every letter is put in a specific way and written in a specific way to teach us something. So why is the bet of Bereshit right at the beginning in the Bible is big? Because God wants to speak to us about something very important. Why do we have the Bible? Why do we have this amazing manual of life? It's for us to know how to conduct our life. And so again, he wants to show us that Bet is for our house. Bereshit is this manual of life that we need to have in our house, not on a shelf, but like in our home. We use it. It's our manual to know how to live. When we read the Bible every day, it's amazing how we can receive instruction and know how to live. So this is just amazing. Okay, now few more names that we can give you. We look at Aleph and we look at Bet. Now we can make some name already with that. Av, Abba, is for father. So we know already one. When a little boy calls his father, he says, Abba, Abba. You can hear that on the street here in Israel. So that's it. Today we look at the two first letters, Aleph and Bet. And with these two letters, we look at the name Av, Abba. Shalom, and see you next time. So again, Linda, thank you for coming today. This is wonderful to have spending time with you. And thank you for watching Israel First. And we hope that we will see you again next week. And from Linda and for me, Shalom, Shalom.